right. Thanks for being here. And it's luckily, I mean, the first day of a new month. And what a wonderful panel I have. Disruptors, smart people next to me. We've seen the first phase of what startups have done. And if we talk of India, the India and the Bharat, India has really seen the results. The results are in numbers as well. But when India is not just monolith, it has another aspect, another side, which is the Bharat side, which is huge in numbers. And now is the time to get into that space and understand and culture, those nuances, and really the customer. That's the topic we will discuss, and we will try to understand your strategies, how you are looking at that, what you're doing on that front. So maybe I start right at the end with you. Uh, give me a sense of have you really started understanding the next phase of growth that will unleash for your brand beyond the metros? What is happening on that front for your?
Sure. So actually, I feel like my opinions here might be very contrarian to what the other panelists or this room believes, because I'll just share some context to what we do at Culture Circle. We are Asia's #1 hype and luxury app. So we allow you to compare prices between sneakers, handbags, luxury perfumes, apparel across all global sellers, right? So that's our promise as a brand. So we are actually building counter to the entire Bharat story, so to say, because while I would love to build for Bharat, the more and more data I see, I realize that in our country, the top 1% is responsible for 40% of all consumption. The top 2% are responsible for 65% of all discretionary consumption. And the more worrying trend is that this gap is only increasing. So we have actually very consciously taken a call to build for the thesis that we will build from India for the world. And when the markets mature, maybe let's say over the next decade, is when we want to look at the Bharat opportunity.
Srishti, who really are your next, say, I will say 100 or 200 million customers, and how are you defining your next audience?
So I hail from tier 2, and grown up there, I have seen the potential of women buying the clothes there. So we started a journey from tier 2 and tier 3 itself, because we think the mass is lying there, and nobody was thinking for Bharat. Everyone was either focusing on that niche, which was a crowded market, or something which is a trendy, which is a Gen Z, but nobody was thinking for the actual consumption of the products and actual utilization for the products. So we understood the need for the women, because a women in tier 2 and tier 3 requires garment for their daily household chores versus going out versus doing it for evening wear, and that all is a bit traditional. And there we saw it was a huge market where international players will also not enter. So it's going to be a dominating area. Apparently, post to that, it was like that tier 2 and tier 3 are the largest market in India, if you talk about the Bharat. So we thought, why not just focus on Bharat, and then metros will follow the trend. And that's what we have seen.
Wonderful. So, Ankit, do you have to really design something new, tailor-made for that audience, or is it about just price points? How do you see that entire piece of tier 2, tier 3, tier 4?
So I actually Sohail hail from a tier 4 town. I actually born and brought up there, then I lived across India and then moved back. But when you really look over there, affordability was never a challenge. Availability was the biggest challenge earlier. Now with e-commerce coming in the place where the biggest brands are growing with the e-commerce, there's a crazy digital reach. There is a separate strategy which is needed where affordability along with aspiration combined together can build bigger and bigger brands. We deal with brands where we, let's say, help them generate a business of, let's say, 20, 30, 40 crores very easily. I'm talking about we just managed a brand to gain a 70 crore business last month. 1 month 70 crore business just because it was a sale month. So, and this is a big brand, suitcase brand doing really good business. My point over here is when you have the right affordability and right aspiration together, you can tap into the audience, and there are people willing to buy because because the next middle class which has a higher dispensable income available to them, they're ready to spend that much. And they're ready to spend that much. You need to find the right audience at the right platforms and then make it available for them.
Pramod, you are slightly in a different space here. Important side of it, which is the logistic part of it, the last mile delivery. If we talk about that ecosystem itself, how evolved is it in the next phase where we're looking at the tier 2?
Yeah. So I am the odd man out here. I don't have the next 500 million customers that I have to reach out to.
You will be helping them, right?
Yes, but I'll be helping all the brands across e-commerce, quick commerce, food delivery, bike taxi, help them get to their next 500 million targets. And there, what we have seen is that the depth of logistics that has been built for e-commerce is extremely well done. That is shown by the fact that more than 50% of India's e-commerce orders actually go and deliver within a tier 3, tier 4 kind of a town. So a lot of work has gone into building that reach and being able to deliver across the length and breadth of the country.
Okay, Devansh, marketing to the next customer, the next set of customer, how important is language, culture? Does vernacular content, local storytelling, cultural nuances, how do you look at those pieces when you're trying to reach out to that next big promise?
So the short answer is it really, really matters. For example, at Culture Circle, we say we allow you to access the world's largest collection of authenticated drip at the guaranteed lowest prices on the planet. That's a tagline. Now, this same tagline, the more and more we regionalize it, right? It has a regional context when we're running ads across all different southern states. When we started doing it in Northeast, for example, the script also changes often in Northeast. Therein, the ROAS in terms of, for our ads grew by 50 to 70% just by those small edits. Also, what tends to happen is this is also where localizing is not just language, but the faces you show. So nano influencers from, say, the Northeast, nano influencers from, say, Gujarat, and nano influencers from Kerala. Once we start showing them on our page and we run those ads, it suddenly increases the reach, the trust, and the conversion for all of those ad sets. So that's how localizing really helps us.
Srishti, how do you get?
So for us, our initial 200 CR was zero marketing. And what we thought the best way to kind of market your product is to get your customer becomes your influencer. And when your customer is getting that product, they should be happy about it and they should market it. Because when you talk about Bharat, actually, the more marketing will not work out. It is more about the vocal communication and brand advocacy. So we thought, why not make every customer happy and they talk about the product to their larger audience rather than we putting out to a customer directly in two different languages. And the best way to kind of communicate is that, okay, मैंने ये product लिया था, बहुत अच्छा brand है, आप भी लो. So that is the real way of marketing in Bharat. This is what we have understood. So for us, each of our customer becomes our influencer and each of our customer becomes a brand face, taking that campaign towards their audience, which is through their WhatsApp channel, through their local kitty parties, or through their office circle. So that is very important for us, and this is how we are doing it and scaling the brand, all bootstrapped.
I think you really mentioned a very important point. More marketing will not help, right? Brand advocacy is where the entire piece lies. I think that's true of India as well, right? That's true of this market, the saturated markets as well. Do you think so?
Yeah, obviously, because these days everyone is into D2C and everyone thinks that, okay, if we are able to kind of spend, we will be able to catch the customer, but the customer is very smart, They know where they have to spend the penny. They understand where the brand is coming from. So all that really matters. But the most important is, unless until the trust is built by one of their fellow members, that will affect more rather than affecting any other parameters of marketing.
Ankit, what is your approach to reaching out customers in the next geography?
Right. So, what exactly Devansh and Srishti mentioned very clearly is that this plays one of the biggest role. Where, let's say, whenever we some of our brands, whenever we run our UGC communications, where we use the UGC content for that regional, exactly what you are doing, we try to reach nano influencers. One of the biggest thing which helps us is doing the right sampling, right sampling, right reach to the people. Let's say, for an example, if we are doing a launch store in Gujarat or in Ahmedabad, we try to involve all the local people, try to ensure that and the local marketing is done instantly across all channels. On e-commerce, we do regional language marketing. Now, that is a very interesting and very few people can do it because that requires a very strong connections inside the team, but you can do regional level marketing too. Now, these are a lot of levers which are getting missed. Once you ensure there's this common communication in local languages with local people across, we have seen amazing results for the brands. So this plays a big role.
Pramod, since you have feet on ground in those territories, what would you like to, suggest or advise to these founders? How can they tap into the local ecosystem and do better on that front?
So the underserved regions are a gold mine. If you are able to figure out a positioning to reach them, then you can create really valuable businesses. What we have found is that there is a lot of aspiration in these places. It's just a question of access and infrastructure. And once we are able to open it up, then there is a lot of pent-up demand that can be fulfilled. One example is we worked closely with Swiggy a few years back to launch 10 states for them at LoadShare. And when we went there, we had to do both sides of the marketplace where we had to onboard restaurants as well as get delivery boys and get the fulfillment to happen. What we identified is that a bigger problem statement was finding high quality restaurants, digitizing them, getting them online, giving them the right SOPs to deliver correctly. Once that is in place and the market started opening up, the rest of the puzzle in terms of getting riders and delivering it within 30-minute promise was something which was more straightforward. So that is something which is a little non-traditional, that people expect that the tier 2, tier 3 markets are not evolved and that they don't need this. But we find that the aspirations and the desires of this target group are not very different from the metros and tier 1s. It's just a matter of brands finding a way to reach them. And once they get there, then there is enough and more demand to go around. To just continue on that theme, small towns like Guwahati, they do more than 15 to 20,000 food deliveries a day. And that is done with higher AOV, average order value, than what we see in some metros. So that is the kind of flywheel effect that you can create. It's just about having the conviction to be able to go there.
So Devansh, for the next billion or 500 million growth story, of course, you guys, investors are crucial. They have a very important role to play. But do they have the patience and the capital appetite for this long tail growth in these markets? Do you think, and in the current circumstances that we are in, do you think they are backing the growth and they are backing the startups who are targeting those customers?
Sure. So I think before starting on that, I'll just complete a very interesting point Sir said about Guwahati. Actually, the first sneaker that was above 10 lakhs, a single shoe that we sold in our company, was an order from Guwahati. In fact, till now, Northeast continues to be, it was the first destination where we sold a watch over 1 crore. It was actually, again, the Northeast. So these underserved markets are actually where opportunities land. Usually nobody would tell you this. It's not the Delhi, Bombay. It's potentially Hyderabad, Northeast, and some cities in Kerala where these opportunities we have seen really growing. Now, in terms of the investor appetite, right? I feel I've been on both sides of the table here because before this, I was running another sort of D2C brand, which was for Bharat, when we were doing stuff like green tea, granola bars, etc. And at Culture Circle, what we've been very clear that we're going to serve the top 1%, 2% income bracket. Now, when we segregate it like that, the interesting part is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 does not always correlate to income levels very directly. So what I mean to say is a city like Surat, you would probably call it a tier 2 city, but the kind of purchasing power that is there in a city like Surat is potentially not there in a lot of what you would call tier 1 cities like a Pune, right? So it is very also important to distinguish in terms of purchasing power, how you're defining tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. In terms of the investor appetite, I feel the one thing that is missing right now in India is there is not a layer of trust when it comes to e-commerce particularly, because e-commerce as a percentage of retail is still sub 10%, sub 20%. In the West, it has overtaken even 50, 60% as a percentage of retail. Now, when that happens, naturally, it leads to two cases. One, there is a lot of headroom to grow from, say, a 7% number. Digital penetration can increase. That is the positive case in terms of investor appetite. The negative case is, for example, the honest reality is people still don't trust e-commerce. 90% of India just does not trust e-commerce. How do you solve it? Trust becomes table stakes. So what we do, for example, is we say that we have partnered with a global authentication company called Check. So every order you're getting on Culture Circle now will come with an authenticity certificate. That's our way of doing it. How large marketplaces are solving it is a very generous, no questions asked return policy, no questions asked exchange policy. So to tap into that 7% to 90% journey in terms of e-commerce in tier 2 and tier 3, I think trust is the deficit that needs to be solved, and potentially that is what will give investors more confidence. And of course, patient capital is required. We're lucky to be backed by someone like an InfoEdge. They invest mostly out of their balance sheet. They have a 10, 12-year horizon. So funds like those do exist, who have that appetite for a 10, 12, 15-year journey, because I feel that is how long it will really take for the market to grow to that extent.
Srishti.
So obviously now investors are looking for more bulk businesses rather than, because brands like Snitch, brands like Zudio have created a disruption in the industry with the price points they are serving to the customer. So obviously there is huge interest, and for us we have been like scaling to 500 CR, EBITDA positive, all bootstrapped, is a journey where we thought we can scale it profitably. It's not always that you have to burn out your hands and then only you can create a brand. So there is huge scope lying there if we can scale to 65 million customer base without any fund serving them. So there is easily somebody sitting out there to kind of invest in a brand for 100 million customers. Next.
Get your take on this, on the investors' confidence and patience.
So I'll tell, there are, in my own experience, and like I have another human DNA testing company where we have a lot of investors coming in and telling us to.
I thought investor DNA testing.
No. So like a human, so we actually do a preventive human DNA testing where we identify the future disease, what kind of workout diet you should do, and everything. Now, in that company, we have a lot of investor interest reaching out to us constantly. What we have felt is that, like, if you would have asked me 5 years back, I would have said that, okay, whoever's giving me the right money at the right equity share, I would take it. Right now, it's just not the money liquidation which comes as a part, but becomes who are the investors who are joining with us, the kind of networking which they already have, and what kind of patience they are coming up with. There are a lot of family offices which, as Devansh rightly pointed, that whenever they are coming, the money is coming out of their balance sheet, they are not aggressive. They also want to look at this as an investment potential where they want to, let's say, take an exit of 5, 7, 10 years later. And just take a healthy of 10 or 20x exit and they're very happy with it. They just think this as another investment opportunity, not as just purely finding 100 startups, putting the money, and out of that 10 will become the next billions and then get the money out. So yeah, so depends. The matchmaking is very important right now, and which I feel we have been doing very well.
Right. Pramod, are you seeing any growth in terms of numbers? That startups are really doing well, brands are doing well in tier 2, tier 3. Is there if you compare this day with maybe 3 years back, then Is there a shift?
Yeah. So we are definitely seeing a shift in terms of companies going deeper into the next 500 and being able to attract more. On the investor question, I feel that we haven't really had any big breakout successes where someone went to the public markets and said that I was targeting real Bharat and I've been able to build a large
Don't
EBITDA
have a
positive.
success story, you're saying?
Yes.
We don't have.
I don't think so. Maybe Misho would be the first case. Once they go public, then people will see what the real size of Bharat is and how you can build a large business, profitable business, hopefully, by targeting these underserved regions. Um, that is what I think.
I have time for one audience question. Is there any? Yeah, yes. Please identify yourself and we can hear you, I guess, yes. We don't have time. Okay. That's exactly we have been. But okay, one for him, one answer for him.
So we really thought that customers sitting out are more aspirational, like how my other co-panelist also said, that they really want and they are ready to kind of spend that money also because in tier 2 there is a single man, mostly in a single man working for the family, and the other family members are sitting inside the home. So they have to browse only unless until his husband comes to the house and he can take her out for the shopping. She is not able to go alone. So this is the scenario in larger markets, like if you talk about Cat A, Cat C. So we even receive orders from Gullu is an area in West Bengal, a very niche area. There is a place in Bihar which is like 10 hours from Patna in a very smaller city. There also we get orders. And then when we talk to them, we understand, okay, this woman is not able to go outside the house without a family member's support. So the only way to shop is through e-commerce. And they understand how e-commerce is working. They understand how the situation is there that, okay, if I go out shopping, there will be more expenditure than getting a product inside the house. So that is the customer who's thinking in that perspective, whereas we think that, okay, the customer is not ready to kind of spend the money in tier 2 or tier 3, or maybe they don't know how to use the e-commerce, but they are very smart, being very true, and they are very upgraded. And we cannot think that Bharat women is just a woman who's not able to handle a smartphone, but she's more smarter than that. And we have spoken to them, and they even give reviews to us in whole paragraph that, okay, this was my special occasion, I gifted it to my mother-in-law, I gifted it to my sister-in-law sitting in a small town city, getting the product at the house. So that is what we believe, that this is a customer, and this is how we will be able to grow if we go more deeper in the pockets.
Right. Let me ask my final question. We have 5 minutes. Devansh, from you, why do we look inwards all the time? Why do startups look inwards? Now, our Prime Minister is also saying that, local for global. Why don't we have an outward perspective? As a founder, I'm asking this question. And second, is there any example in terms of deeper penetration into tier 2, tier 3, any brand that has really done well, according to you?
Sure. So I'll answer the first question. I think the reason we don't have a very local to global perspective is we don't have a lot of great examples yet. So for example, a Zomato really tried to nail it abroad, for whatever reasons could not, operational reasons.
The Dubai thing,
Yes, Dubai, correct. But you also now have an example like a Lenskart. Lenskart is killing it in Asian markets. In Singapore, they're going big in Indonesia, etc. So I feel once we have those 2 or 3 hero breakout consumer stories, I think we'll be in a much better position because we've always done well in local to global when it comes to B2B SaaS or enterprise SaaS, right? Whether it's Zoho, Freshworks, we have a bunch of stories in that sector. But in consumer, somehow, even though we have the DNA to build out good brands, we haven't had those 5, 10 breakout success stories. I think once we have that, that will inspire the next generation of brands that it can be done and potentially take it abroad. Vadam Teas is a good example. More than half of the revenue actually comes in from outside of India than inside of India. So we have brands like that. So I think it's more of an issue there. I think at Culture Circle also we're launching globally in the next 3 months, right? So we're launching all across EU in 24 countries. So we're also trying because now we see a success like Lenskart. So that inspires us. In terms of brands succeeding, again, as Mam's brand is one of them. For example, Indo is one of them. To be very honest, Snitch, Zudio, Trend Fashion. You know, you have brands that have achieved some success, as Sir also said, Misho. But again, there the profitability question mark has still not been figured out for a lot of these, and which is why, you know, once maybe they list, we see consistent revenues. That again is also goes back to the same point that once we have those 1 or 2 great examples of brands being profitable at scale within India, potentially other brands will follow.
Okay,
Can I ask one follow-up question?
we have 30 seconds for all comments. Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
In terms of other markets that you are going to target, which are the ones which are closest to India that you feel comfortable making the jump from here?
So I feel in the category that we operate, very honestly, the top 1% income bracket in India just behaves exactly like the Western markets. Right. So when we actually did consumer research, the top 1% of India is closer to a West in terms of a United States or in European in terms of what they buy, what they like to buy, than say Indian or Asian markets. That's what we've seen.
A quick comment on looking perspective. Do you agree with what he said?
Obviously, when you're creating something which has not been built till date, it becomes a different thing. But like how Dr. Anurag mentioned that for every founder, or entrepreneur, the hope is the thing. So there are a couple of startups which are kind of creating that disruption, and anything is possible in India because we understand that, okay, India has that sense of production, manufacturing and capabilities. So if you talk about any international brand, all the raw materials are going from India. So India has that potential to kind of create those foundation. Only what you say, a platter creation is something that is happening by the next generation people. And obviously there will be huge set of brands which will be going outside India and would be creating a brand, Indian brand, international, very big. We have seen like designers are doing great. Even smaller brands like Go Colors have expanded to Dubai and other markets. So they are doing amazing. And I think so there is no stop to it. And we are one of the largest players for Singapore ethnic wear market, selling it through multiple channels. So we understand the customer knows right money, right product at right price is, whether it's India, whether it's Western, everywhere it is there. So this is what we believe.
Ankit, quickly, who do you look up to? Any brand that has really done the Bharat story really well?
So I actually like to disagree on the earlier point when everyone said that there are very fewer brands that are local for global. There are a lot of brands which we manage on e-commerce for them who are doing amazing business in USA, Canada, and Australia and Dubai, and like Namshi Noon their own platforms, right? But there are like we don't have a success story like Lenskart, which is very famous, but we have a lot of local. Let's say there is a company called Two Brothers Farm, if you've heard of it. The two brothers who came from USA have their farm. They have their entire organic products such as ghee and doing amazingly well in USA. There are a lot of smaller brands not doing some 500 crores or something, but a lot of brands who are doing 4, 5 crores, 10 crores of business internationally, and a lot of brands like that. So that is my point number one, that there are brands, they're at a smaller scale, but are very big crowded on that market. I honestly believe that India has the right potential right now to grow. It's just that the more success stories people come out, which Devansh pointed in the very right way, that Lenskart is famous. So he's also thinking that Culture Circle can do it. If we can talk about, let's say, Indo era doing so well in Singapore, if there are other ethnic brands target Singapore again, we can do well. So this the publicity is the biggest thing which is needed for us.
Pramod, any closing remarks from your side?
Yeah. So we keep getting asked this question that do you want to go outside India? But what we believe is that India is a very deep opportunity, especially in the logistics space. It's constantly evolving. New models like quick commerce, which are not even there 2 years ago, are here. So we feel strongly about going deeper and building for Bharat. But on the other side, we also have a different avatar of building SaaS products. So we build SaaS solutions which we give to clients like Meesho and a few others, where they're able to manage supply chain. So there we see a good opportunity for us to be able to train on Bharat, which throws all the uncertainties and all the corner cases on us, and then it will be world ready and we should be able to take it outside.
Wonderful. That was the panel, and thanks for sharing your talk points on the very first panel. Can we have a round of applause for them? Thank you.